Hello and welcome to Dragons
Unicorns.
and Other Creative Creatures. This is Rona Goffstein,
This is Dr. Kevin Ross Emery.
and we are here to be your host.
I don't know a host song.
Oh,
I know what
welcome, bienvenue, welcome.
There we go. There's a host
There
song.
we go.
Whew. Starting to panic.
I was going to say,
We know there's a song for everything.
absolutely. There's absolutely a song for everything. So, you're a big award show person, right?
I am.
You watch all of these awards. I've watched many award shows. And one of the things that happens is that you have these categories and people are kind of like, oh, yeah, so big deal. Some of them don't even walk on stage. Some of them are just
Yep.
announced at a little dinner. And so a lot of times the behind the scenes people just don't get the recognition.
No, and they certainly they don't, and they don't get the ratings, so they don't. Even when they're getting an award, they don't get
Yeah.
the recognition.
No, even when they get their name may be read. I mean, it helps that in Hollywood that there are people who are at the top of their game for
Yes.
videographers and for sound people and for editing and stuff
Absolutely.
like this. And so they get the best, you know, they'll get the best gigs. You'll see their names over and over again on some of the major things.
Yes.
But I don't think people realize that that is as equally creative, what goes on behind the screens,
Oh yeah.
as what goes on in front of them.
Well, if you took that away, the people who are visible would look nothing like, sound nothing like
Yep.
what we're used to.
Yeah. You know, I used to love the fact that in the 50s, 60s, oftentimes they would choose the actress or actor that couldn't sing, and then they would dub in the singing when they were turning all those musicals into.
Oh yeah, the woman who sang for Marilyn Monroe and Audrey Hepburn and Natalie Wood.
Marnie Nixon.
Yep,
Yep.
a huge career doing just being their singing voices.
Yes, and when it was always, and you know, I mean, I loved all of those different movies. I love My Fair Lady and
West
stuff like
Side
this.
Story. Yep.
West Side Story. But I always went, you know, why didn't it go to Cheeto Rivera? Why didn't it go to the people who could sing that did it? Why did Julie Andrews not play My Fair Lady? And it was all politics and who they thought would be
Oh,
a
yeah.
better draw star. And you know, they stopped that practice, I think, pretty much in the 70s. It kind of.
Yeah, for the most part. And then for animated, you ended up with they were doing live animated for a while. The people, the no names would do the singing for the animated characters, and then they started wanting names for that too.
Yeah, I actually have an independent movie that I love that's called I Think I Do, and Marnie Nixon is actually plays a character in that movie.
Does she?
Yeah.
Natalie Wood said she was very uncomfortable doing Maria in West Side Story because of that. You know, she knew that they had hired her for this one reason and one reason only, not because she could do the role or sing the role, but because she was the name that would help.
And wasn't
Get
even
the
the
movie
right
made.
ethnicity.
No, that was a lot of body makeup she wore for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyways, so I want to bring up this conversation today because of today's guest.
Yes.
You know, we, much more often on the Web of Light show than here, people hear me say, we've got some of the best support staff, some of the
Absolutely.
back end crew here of any public access channel. And I've been interviewed on several different public access channels in, you know, throughout all the way. I've been interviewed and played with back access channels all the way over to San Francisco and back.
Well, then you are officially coast to coast.
Yes, I'm officially coast to coast as far as I've been on a lot of shows. And I've been on, you know, ABC, NBC, CBS, all of those
That's
as
right.
well, not public access. So I know a good crew when I see one.
Yes, you do.
And a crew that cares. So I'm going to introduce today's guest.
Please do.
Today's guests are Quinn Mack and Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson has been working in public access television for 5 years. He is a self-taught video editor and specializes in, now this must be a new program because, you know, he typed this up and it says Adobe Premiere. I think it's supposed to be Adobe Premiere, but I'm not sure.
You know, and don't let that specializes in Adobe Premiere fool you as something simple. I know people who have worked with and tried and quit on Adobe Premiere. That is not an easy, intuitive software to work with.
Yep. Well, and for ages, my company had a production arm because we produced all those DVDs and
right.
shot me in live classes and stuff. So I know that this stuff is not easy because I heard my staff
Moaning and groaning.
moaning and groaning. Yeah, that's a good word for it. I was thinking of something else.
We'll go with moaning and groaning.
Then we have Quinn Mack. Quinn has been working public access for a year and is an artist who does graphic design and art in his free time. The duo.
Dynamic or otherwise?
I was thinking Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Have a vast knowledge of video games and the community around that they serve through public access show to motivate Hudson residents to do shows here at Hudson Community Television.
It's, most people don't even realize that their local towns have community access and that you can do this and you can.
Yep. And sometimes they come across as kind of shows in a box that you go, and they're letting that show on the air, and then you have really high professional quality level like you get here at Hudson.
Yeah.
So, just so that people can delineate, Quinn is also known as Filthy and Tweedledum. Mike is known as Tweedledee, and the guy making most of the gestures over there, as we were talking about them. So, what is that, a mime or a...
We'll go with mime.
Mime. Okay. So, let's start with... So Quinn, you're the new person on the block.
Yeah.
What first drew you to work on public access?
Actually, Mike referred me to come here because he knows that I did a lot of drawing. I've taken graphic design and CAD classes in high school, which the CAD classes convert into college credits. So I got college experience on the college level through that class. And Mike referred me to come in because he knew I had technology experience. And so he knew I'd be a good fit. I came in. It's been a whole year. I've learned a lot. So that's how I started out.
So now I want to do this from a couple different perspectives. One, I want to highlight, especially at the Web of Light show in March and April, these guys jumped through a lot of hoops. We were putting out
Yes.
3 shows a week.
Yep.
And it took some real dedication. So I want to also put it out there that you are always looking for people to come that can come and volunteer here. I don't know if there's probably not any open positions. I know that the budget is, as all budgets, always they want it to be less than it is.
Always.
Always. But so tell me some of the stuff that you do around here. Did you start in a paying position? Did you start as a volunteer?
Yeah, I started as a paying position. I came in doing the government meetings, which are filmed at the town hall and the library. Those go on a couple of times during the night and the weeknights. And then I moved more into like the shows. So I got to use the cameras. I got to go on fields. The first thing I did was the Benson Park tour. I went with another coworker. And that was the first time I used a camera, and I got to walk around the park. I played with different settings and everything, so I learned a lot through that. And then I did Building Dreams with Marines. I think that was the next out on the field thing I did.
That sounds cool.
That was awesome. There's a lot of motorcycles. It was like a motorcycle rally. They all went through. They went through a couple towns and everything. That was awesome. Cool. I liked that. Yeah. And so Mike was a host, and then I was behind the camera there. So Mike got some screen time.
Can I tell the story behind that, actually? So we actually had someone who was going to host the event, and he called me at 6 in the morning, and this is the first time I've ever been in front of a camera. He called me at 6 in the morning. He's like, Mike, I'm really not feeling good. Oh, no. And I was like, time to jump in and cover this thing. And it was fun, though. It was a learning experience, just talking to people and stuff at the event. It was, like I said, it was the first time I ever did anything. The whole time I was going like, I was talking to people because I didn't really know what I was doing. But I mean, I've learned a lot from that. For sure.
Yeah. And then I've done a lot of stuff now. Those were the 2 most memorable because those were my first 2. But now I do the cleaning around here as well, so I keep the place up to date and everything. So you got to have a clean studio to work in.
It's the old joke about the guy who sweeps up after the elephant in the circus.
Yep.
Don't you want a better job? What, and give up show business?
So you do cameraman.
Yep.
So tell me the various positions you've learned since you've been here.
I've learned, you mean like
Like,
can't-
what do you
Yeah,
do in
all
the
the
studio?
recently Mike's been letting me do the directing of the shows. So it means I'm in the control room, which there's a lot of stuff to learn. I'm still learning it
There's
all.
a lot
You
of
got the-
buttons in there.
Yeah, I know a few of the buttons out of the hundreds that are in there. So
Phasers set to stun,
Yeah.
proton torpedoes.
so there's a lot to learn in there. But I am getting really good at doing the camera angles and everything. You have to be very careful with the camera. You gotta do gradual turns and everything. You don't want to snap right to it and everything. So a lot of it's just like learning the motions of the camera.
Okay, good. And so we're going to get to you in a minute, Mike. But so one last question for Quinn,
Yeah.
and then we're going to turn it over
Spotlight,
to
please.
spotlight over to Mike over there. So what is the funniest or most absurd thing that has happened
Oh no.
in filming a show that you were on?
A show that I was on?
Well,
or
the show
behind
that you were
cameras?
like
Working on.
I think we'd go back to Building Dreams with Marines when Mike had to jump in. Because we were talking to someone that I kind of did know, but I kind of really didn't know him. So Mike went up to him and everything. And he was getting ready for like a big speech, and he said about 2 things. And then they kind of dismissed him, which I felt really bad for. But, that's what it was. It was probably the post.
Oh, the joys of live TV.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Unscripted.
it was all unscripted, and he was ready for like big speech. He goes up, starts talking to him and everything, and then they kind of just turn away. It felt kind of bad for him, but it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta prepare for the unexpected.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Mike, what brought you here 5 years ago?
Oh man, so I actually had a good friend named Tom Rourke who I was looking for a job at the time while I went to school and stuff part-time, and he told me about the government meeting job at night. So that's actually where I started too, was doing like the Board of Selectmen meetings, the Sustainability Committee, Recycling Committee actually, they changed their name. But back like when I first started, that's how I like got involved with television. I never really expected to get to the point I'm at now. I thought it was just kind of just like a little part-time job at night I could work. So fast forward 3 years of doing the government meetings, I did that while working like food jobs on the side and stuff. But the thing that got me into like video editing and stuff, just in my free time, I play a lot of video games. And I used to like to make like little funny videos for my friends to watch on, I started with Windows Movie Maker like in high school, and then I went to Sony Vegas. And when I started working here, that's actually when I started using Adobe Premiere. And now it's like my go-to editing software, like at home, even at here, because it's what I'm proficient at. There's still so much stuff that you can do with it. And I remember last year, the same kid, Tom Rourke, he called me up and he said, Mike, Jim was wondering if you wanted to start training to be his assistant. So I came in and I just practiced on Adobe Premiere. I learned how to schedule the shows on air. And it was all very gradual learning. But that's kind of like what I've learned like the past like 2 years of being the assistant here is it's all about teaching and learning. Everybody, us, the volunteers that come in, that's what we're here for. We're a training facility for people. If people ever want to learn how to edit, they can contact me at like mjohnson@hudsonctv.com. Hudson residents are more than welcome to come in and learn how to edit. They're more than welcome to come in and learn how to run a camera, even learn how to do like a remote camera. Like if there's a school event, like a student wants to cover or something, they can borrow equipment here. And they bring us back the footage, I'll edit it into something, or I can teach them how to do it. But that's the beauty of it, is just teaching people how to run the facility and stuff. And I'm still learning new things every day about television. The cable facilitator, I need to thank him on TV. He's taught me so much the past 5 years. It's about cameras, television, editing, everything.
But it's an interesting thing that there's teaching and learning and production and just the general openness. I don't think people realize what a resource this can be for everybody. Whether obviously the government and everyone's like, oh yeah, I know that channel. Click. But it's there and it's important.
So, what is your favorite thing to do? Because like I asked, what positions do you run here now?
So right now, I do all the directing for all of our shows. I'm like the main editor for everything. In terms of favorite position, well, actually, I'll get on to the other stuff I do first. But the other stuff I do is I oversee the kids that do the government meetings at night now. So if they have any issues, they'll come to me. I'll do all the scheduling for them. I program the 3 channels we have. I'll get equipment ready for people that want to sign it out, and doing this, setting up the stage and stuff, doing the banners, doing the lighting and stuff. That's been the stuff I've had to learn the most, is doing lighting and stuff, because behind the scenes, when you're watching a show at home, you don't realize about like the lighting and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff that goes into it. I didn't even realize it when I first started working in the studio, how light affects things. Like we have like the key lights up here that are lighting all of us right now, but you don't think about that when you're at home, and it's very cool. In terms of favorite thing, honestly, and I talked about it earlier, I love to edit. It's a lot of fun. I've been learning how to use Adobe After Effects recently, which allows, like the animated intro for your guys' show, it allows us to do stuff like that. I want to learn to build my own. Those are actually templates that we use, but I want to learn eventually how to build my own template, like build like my own animated templates for people, because it's fun to do, you know. And it's cool seeing what new, and it's very cool seeing what new things you can come up with and come up with new ideas for shows, like different graphics and stuff. But
Well, you know, we've been talking, and I'm not sure whether you were looped in on that conversation or not, but we keep on playing back and forth with having a screen behind this with flying dragons and unicorns while the show's going on. What do you think?
I actually think that would be really. You know, it's funny you bring that up. I said to Jim the other day, I said, you know, it'd be really cool if, like, for this show, if we had like a green screen, like an animated dragon and unicorn just flying around. If we could find like a YouTube video or something and just have it on loop, I think that'd be really cool.
What do you think? Should we have flying
I
dragons?
don't know. I mean, we get scorched flying dragons running around behind us.
Hey,
You know, it sets a different tone.
come on! You have had way too many close encounters of the third kind with flames.
This is true. I have had the occasional.
You're not going to get burned.
No. I pretty much know what to do with it. So it could be fun, actually, on occasion, depending on who the guest was and what the topic was. It could be fun to have.
Doing some. I mean, this is a show on creativity.
We can
Try it out and see.
Which is great.
We'll take a look. We'll look and see. You know, the only thing I'd be worried about was that it might be too distracting.
Yeah, that was one of my thoughts. But
So
it's not as if they're going to have Godzilla, you know, chomping across Tokyo behind us, though.
Well, that's a thought. No,
It wasn't a dragon. Was he?
dinosaurs
It was
and
a lizard.
Asians. No, instead of dragons and unicorns.
There you go.
There we go. So your favorite part is doing the editing, and there's a very creative aspect to that editing. So share, you know, people think, oh, community television, hokey, boring. I mean, there's a general feeling on the street.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, when I talk to people about being on as guest, especially on the Web of Light show, and I talk about it and I say, well, it's public access, I can see the energy change in their eyes.
Yeah, there's
And I'll say,
assumptions and
you know, and I'll say, hey, look, we're getting picked up by over 50 public access, and we're between Maine and California, and we're social mediaing out to, you know, 1.5 million to 2 million people. And then you see that come back in their eye of, this isn't going to be something they're going to be embarrassed to have out on the internet.
exactly.
But share some, so, you know, people always love the outtakes, and you don't have any outtakes to show here, but what are some of the crazier things that's happened in 5 years here?
Oh man.
Yes. What would be on Mike's blooper reel?
Our whole show. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I remember when I first started, one thing that always happens in television, I mean, doing Web of Light, you've seen stuff just not work sometimes, equipment failing, stuff like that happens all the time. One of my biggest blunders, I'll say, and this is something that I felt so bad about, we had an exercise show, and the system looked like it was recording, and it only recorded like half the show, and we lost like half of it, and it was such a good show. And the audio in there when we were recording it sounded fine, everything sounded perfect, we had it all set up, and halfway through the show, it kind of just something happened in the system where it didn't record right. And
Yikes.
but I learned from that, okay? I learned you always double check everything. It's always important to have as many backups as you can in television. I always save a lot of raw footage because you never know what might happen. If a system goes down or something, having all those files on it, you never know what might happen. But it's every time I do a show, I learn something new, a new trick, a new camera angle, anything, something you do with the microphone, just new things every time. But
It's great to hear about something that you know you're going to come in and you're not going to, 5 years and you're not getting bored, not even remotely. There's still a learning curve, which is great.
Yeah, so I kind of picture this exercise video that in the middle of this great, And then you're going to do,
Yeah, really, and it just goes all wonky on you. Yipes.
and you see the person talking and thrusting around.
Talking about mistakes, I just hit
what-
my heel on my mic.
If you got your heel caught on your nut, were you doing yoga? Was
No,
your
I
ankle
was- it
behind
was-
your
yes,
bed?
it was
Oh,
here.
okay. I was getting concerned. I thought maybe she was doing yoga poses when I was looking at you guys, and you weren't telling me.
Lamont moment here. What's this wire doing here? Someone could get hurt.
So, what was the most interesting stage you've ever had to create?
Oh, the most interesting stage. Well, this show, for one, with the banners and stuff, was a task for us to figure out how we were going to hang them and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The most interesting stage, though, I think one of them, we actually had to take apart the stage and put risers up because we had like 8 guests on it. So doing that was about 3 or 4 hours of work for me and Jim getting the lighting right and stuff. When you have about 8 guests on,
Oh, completely different, yeah.
there's a lot of things that go into it that you don't realize. You have to see maybe like turn a few lights around so you can like light the side of people's faces, make sure all of the audio inputs are working right. I think that was one of the more interesting ones. Either that, or it was one a few weeks ago actually with the Spirit Portal coming up with the one with I think his name was Vaughn. He came on your
Oh
show.
yeah, Stargate.
The Stargate.
The big chair.
Yeah.
You had a
that was-
Stargate?
Yeah.
The big round.
No, we had the. It was a big 5-pointed star that had orbs at each of the points, and there was
Oh,
a
wow.
chair in the middle. They were at the expo, which you didn't make because you were out of town.
I was.
Yeah, you should watch that episode. That was a pretty elaborate.
Yeah.
That was a pretty
Yeah,
elaborate setup.
That was cool.
You guys were setting that up for an hour before I got here.
Wow. That is elaborate.
There was one more show that we did. It was actually on our own show where because now you can see like the background, you see the carpet. We took up the carpet, underneath the stage is all green. So you can key that in with the green screen in the back. So it looked like our stage we're in a Mario level.
Oh my
And
gosh, that's
it was
awesome.
turned so it was 3D. It wasn't 2D, so it looked like we were actually on
Oh, I
the
forgot
runway
about
with him.
that one.
And there's Koopas and everything. And it looked like we were actually in the game because there was no carpet. It was all just
All
the
the green
actual
screen
level.
work.
It was all brick and everything.
I could be on the Yellow Brick Road.
That took a while back in the
Oh, the
with the
adjustment.
TriCaster and everything.
Oh, I
just
would
to get everything all set.
I have a couple of ideas for shows that I could do like that.
The floor, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I wrote this, I started writing the piece. I didn't actually finish it. I'll get back to it at some point, where I did a one-man show, and it was all done me walking a labyrinth. And I stopped and would tell a story, and then go to a different part of the labyrinth and tell the story, and then get to the center, and then Act 2 is me coming out of the labyrinth,
Oh, I like
telling
that.
the story. So yeah, there's a lot of fun. There's definitely a lot of fun things. Yeah, and we try to see if we can bring you some stuff to keep it interesting.
Yeah.
We've definitely.
We're not boring.
Yeah. And we're talking about getting the New Hampshire Gay Men's Chorus to come on, and we were going to just send footage in, but if we could get 3 or 4 or 5 of the guys to even if the interview was primarily with 1 or 2, maybe we could actually get it. Now, you wouldn't have to build risers, but that would definitely be very interesting to have a mini choral
Absolutely.
production.
We can
Yeah.
give them their own funky background.
It would be a new thing to work out, like audio and stuff.
Yeah,
Is something we'd have to
definitely.
figure out what we do with microphones, how we'd set up the stage and stuff. But
Right.
even with the
There's-
one, oh sorry.
Oh no, you can keep it.
Oh, sorry. It was the one where we had what was his name? I forgot to say his name. He had the flute and stuff. But even just
Oh,
figuring out,
Washeen Welch.
yeah, just figuring out the audio for that, how we're gonna do it. And then when his wife Angie was on, we had him in the background playing the flute while she was doing her artwork. That was a cool show.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep. Well, we're really going to be, which reminds me, I need to sign out a camera for Firefest on July 1st.
Please
so make
remember
sure you
that.
get it while I'm thinking about it. Because that's going to be an event where we're going to have 3 stages of live music presentations
cool.
all day long.
Yeah.
And then the show ends with fireworks that night.
Oh, cool. Very
Yeah,
cool.
it's to raise money for a nonprofit. And so,
July 1st.
yeah,
July 1st.
so yeah, July 1st. So we're going to use footage for both Web of Light and Dragons for that one.
Absolutely, because it's a great intersection of the two.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking to try to get a couple of the people that are going to be performing there to come on this show. So you're going to get some more chances to do some more live performance, live music stuff. So you guys have your own show. Tell us about that.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to start it, Quinn?
Oh, where do we begin?
Well, what's it called?
The show's called Quinn and Mike's Game Corner. We talk about games that we do play, games that we don't play, the community around video games, and the people who play it. We do about one episode a week. We try and do one episode. We also did a cooking show based on food in a video game. That was very fun. That was our longest show.
There are cookbooks like World of Warcraft cookbooks.
That's what we did one on
That's
that.
what I had heard. Yeah, I'm
Yep.
like, there's a cookbook for that.
So which one of you cooked?
I got kicked off the
Yeah,
show because I
kicked him
can't
off.
cook.
I brought up my girlfriend Hannah. She helped me cook. She did most of the cooking, actually. I just kind of helped where I could. But
Sous chef.
yeah.
Very important work.
I was actually I didn't mean to cut you off,
Oh,
Quinn,
yeah.
is what the show is. It was actually about Hannah. The reason we started the show one day is I remember Hannah came to work with Quinn, and
Yep.
she was like, wow, this is so cool. And she wanted to learn how to run the TriCaster. So what we did is we set up a bunch of lockdown shots, and
Yeah.
we showed her how to use it, and that's how we did a show on World of Warcraft.
Yeah,
And
we just started
always
talking
joked around
and
about
stuff.
it, but
Yeah.
we actually turned it into like a serious show, and then
That's semi-serious.
but then some of our friends started coming on, and one of the guests that we had on actually started his own show where he talks about like the art of creating music and stuff. But that's like
It's like a chain reaction.
we've started that, and we want to keep that going because it's cool to get like just as many people as can come in and do their own show, and just the different topics that get discussed, and that's what we've turned the show into. Is either like a training facility for people or people that want to come on as guests, and then
Just
potentially
entertainment, yeah.
yeah.
So they come on as guests, but you simultaneously train other people to do the equipment
Yep.
while
Yep.
they're. That's cool.
That is cool. So this guy that comes on that does the art of music,
Yeah.
so he is a musician of some kind?
He makes his own music, and he runs is it a company? I guess we call it a company.
It's like a brand kind of.
Yeah, a brand where he
yeah.
helps promotes local artists, and then they get to play in shows that he runs as well. So he came up, but he also has a common interest of video games, so we brought him on for that. But that's what he
The
does.
video games have some amazing music.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I
definitely.
can-
The
And first of all,
soundtrack-
it's like any good thing that you get caught up in. If you put a movie on mute and you don't hear the soundtrack, it changes the emotion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, a
And-
good, yeah.
And they're the soundtracks for some of these. I mean, they actually have made them. I have the album from Myst, MYST, has an amazing soundtrack for the. I have no idea about the game, but the soundtrack's great.
We whenever like I used to play like Dungeons and Dragons with my friends, we would have World of Warcraft soundtrack on in the background because one of my friends, I don't know if it was you, used to play with your music off on Warcraft.
Yeah, that was me.
And I told Quinn, I'm like, you got to play with the music on, man. The music is so good in this game, and now he plays with it on all the time because it's just
Yep.
super good. Every game they've ever made, I always expect like an amazing soundtrack out of it because like I listen when I'm driving sometimes.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't realize, and then that goes back to the behind the scene things that people don't think about that make the whole experience work.
Oh yeah, I mean, and sometimes the soundtrack, some soundtracks become more famous than the movies.
Oh yeah.
And they're more enduring. I mean, some of the John Williams soundtracks.
They're amazing. You want to, if you want it to feel like, sound like, or whatever that you're flying, he's the one you want to hire.
Definitely. So the guy that does the art of music, so when are you going to get him on our show?
I'll
This
get in
is the-
contact with him about it.
This is the perfect show. The other
All the
thing is,
intersections.
if he's got people that are doing music at events, we're still booking the stages at Pepperell. They're-
Yeah,
they're-
so have them-
It's not a paid, it's a nonprofit, and they play in exchange for being able to promote themselves or sell
Yeah.
CDs afterwards and to get themselves. But before we took this over, they were getting between 3,000 and 4,000 people to show up at this event.
It's great exposure.
And we really feel that number is going to, we're so upping the game of what they're doing at Firefest on July 1st that we think those numbers are going to be seriously higher. So it would be a chance to get in
We
front
need
of
to
a
get
whole
them
bunch
a
of
little
people.
barbecue so they can cook World of Warcraft food. Aside.
We would do it, but we might be all gone with me and Quinn around.
I love the fact that these things have so many intersections of, I mean, the gameplay is only one small part of it. As you said, there's a community,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is amazing. Now, World of Warcraft is called, what is it, massive online multiplayer? It's got like its massive little
Yeah,
initials.
it's MMORPG, massive multiplayer online role-playing game.
That's actually how Quinn and I actually became friends. I was friends with his cousin. I didn't know Quinn. And he's from Nashua, so we were all playing. It was League of Legends, I
League,
think.
yeah.
We were all playing, and that's how I met Quinn and stuff, at PAX East and stuff. But it's cool.
Well, I know people that have met on these online role-playing games that ended up creating relationships outside, and I actually married a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
You
happens.
start
He
with a
lived in-
big common interest.
He lived in Western Canada, and she lived in New Hampshire.
Well, the weather's
Wow.
the same.
And so they started a relationship through their characters. I mean, and then that kind of turned into a romance, and
Translated.
then he flew in to see her, and she flew in to see him, and after 2 or 3 times,
That was it?
that was
Yeah.
it. And I
Wow.
performed the wedding ceremony.
Oh.
So now, you started this while you're doing school. Are you still in school?
So story about that. Right now, I'm taking a semester off. I was going for just like my liberal arts degree just to get my gen ed classes out of the way. I'm actually in the process right now of transferring to SNU for graphic design because I've finally decided this is what I want to do the rest of my life. I love what I do here.
That's great.
I want to get better at it, and I want to just keep improving my art. You know what I mean? It's right now. Me and my girlfriend, we work on stuff at night. I do like a YouTube channel, and I do it to practice my editing and stuff, and I correlate like video games and stuff. But she's working on doing like animation and stuff. That's what she wants to do for like a living too. So maybe we can combine our trades someday into something. But,
See, this is great. This goes back to what, on our last show, we talked with 2 independent authors. And it's got to be 20 years ago now that the big New York publishers got rid of their mid-list, which was basically everybody who wasn't bestseller or near bestseller, they let them go. And it sent a lot of people out into the wild with with books and nowhere to put them. And eventually the independents started and the self-publishing started, and sure enough, everybody had a home. And now, thanks to YouTube, thanks to Adobe Premiere and the versions of it you can do yourself, I mean, you're discovering talents and having fun and doing things, and you don't have to wait for somebody else to hire you or to discover you. You get to create what you want as you want it and build a community online, in person, that appreciates that. And I think that's amazing. I think that's one of the great, this is sort of a new renaissance that way for creativity. You can try anything at any age too.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I know the gaming community, my younger son games, and as you know, because you've had long talks, and I've gone to conferences with him, and the age range is enormous.
oh,
The only game I can beat him in is Pong, but other than that, I mean, it's amazing. It's so unifying and so cross-generational, and it crosses a lot of barriers, which is really awesome.
It's funny you bring up like the gaming conventions and stuff. We go to PAX East and stuff all the time, and we always talk about too. It's surprising, like a lot of people when they like talk about people who play video games, they always like stereotype them as like,
Sure.
it's horrible if people do that. But you go there and it's just a bunch of people that love video game. It's like any other hobby. You go there, and the best thing about this like conferences and stuff is you can talk to anyone about anything.
Yeah.
Like last year we went to PAX East, I talked to a bunch of people about like I love Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft, so I talked to people about that. I was like, oh, did you play 15? It's so cool that you can just start a conversation with anyone about this and just make new friends. And I love it.
And there's no
Yeah,
judgment
and-
based on age,
Yeah.
ethnicity,
No,
social status, economics, and none of that.
As long as you speak geek, you're welcome.
And speak the different variables of geek. You know how, there's a Southern dialect and there's the Boston
yeah.
accent. There are dialects within this too, because I've heard sentences that I'm like, that makes absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah,
but
we have our own language.
of course
Yeah.
you do. But every geekdom, fandom,
every community has its own language.
and it's like a good relationship too.
Well,
It has shorthand.
You were talking to the 2 authors that you had here, and you share some groups. And my writing is part of my career, but I'm not a career author.
Right.
I'm not a career writer. And you guys were like, oh, and Nogmo this and Nogmo that and Nogmo. I'm like, what the Nogmo are you talking
we
about?
Have, we have all of our acronyms and.
And I'm just sitting there going, would you take
It's
some
all an
sympathy
alphabet
on
soup.
the non-writer geek here?
Translator. Somebody just
The
simply
translator.
translate all
Well,
the.
I always remember this young girl, and she really got into the games. And this was a long time ago because she just turned 30. And so she was playing them at 11, 12. She started getting into them. And she got in, she started with like Dungeons and Dragons and then the role-playing version of that and stuff like this. But you know, I had my concerns back there because people were doing that instead of reading, and like, you know, it's like, you know, and too much of anything is not good. You need to have balance in your life. But she always told me that when she went to get her MBA, that she was one of the highest. She like aced out all the projects and everything, because she was always the leader in all of her Dungeons and Dragon groups. And the skill sets that she learned in junior high school on how to get a group of people into consensus and how to run those groups ended up, it was everything she applied in her MBA.
Lifelong skill, yeah.
And that's the first time I looked at video games differently because of that. You know, so now you do graphics, and you're still in college, yes?
Yes, I'm still in college.
And your degree is going to be in?
It's going to be in graphic design. Right now I'm taking my gen eds like Mike was, just to get those out of the way, and then I can focus on my
The
major.
boring stuff.
Yeah,
We
get them out of the way and then have a little bit more fun.
We actually have a couple of pictures too, like you brought
So,
in.
okay, so
Ooh.
what is this?
This is an Arakoa from World of Warcraft. It's like a bird person, pretty much.
Okay, and this
Reminds me of the the Skeksis, the creatures Jim Henson created for Dark Crystal,
Oh,
which are an evil race that was separated from the good half of them, and then they combine at the end. I love it, though.
now this is one of your drawings, Quinn?
Yeah, I drew this, but it is from an art book because I got a drawing tablet and I was just practicing with it and seeing what I could do. So I looked at an art book, and then this is like referencing from it.
Okay,
So drawn on a tablet.
Yep,
you do that on a tablet,
Yes.
but you still drew it.
yep. It's all hand drawn for you.
It's all hand drawn. So, you know, there's two different things. There's that original thing you create, but there's just a different kind of artist that can look at something. Because what do artists do? They look at something.
And then, yeah.
You could look and draw that dragon because you like the representation of it, but it would still be your artwork.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because that's what we do. Art is we replicate what we see.
right.
So, but it's not an original character. I
No.
get that.
oh, that's my favorite one.
This is Chen. Is it Chen?
Terran Zoo.
Terran Zoo, yeah. Terran Zoo from World of Warcraft as well, which is a panda.
I was gonna say. I was thinking cat.
I
knew it was an animal
I was
chin.
about to
I'm like,
say,
that's an animal.
I've got, yeah, I can see the bear
And
thing
they,
kind of.
it's like Kung Fu Panda. They're good with Kung
He
Fu.
does have, yes,
Yeah.
I can see that. Jack Black is a little squishier in his Kung Fu Panda version, but
Okay. And
menacing panda. Oh, speaking of dragons.
That is a dragon. Yep.
now, is that also somebody else's character that you drew, or is that an
That's
original?
a character, but I changed the pose on it, so it's the same character but like a different pose.
Okay.
See, and that sort of thing amazes me that I can see this. He's curled up, he's sleeping, he's relatively safe at the moment.
I was thinking he looked like he passed out. Isn't that his tongue kind of hanging out the side? Yeah, that was one too many dragon blood cocktails.
You know, once you eat that first night, it's hard to
Yeah, you know,
slow
it was
down.
blood orange martinis. Okay.
This one is Gorehell, which is just a weapon. I just did a quick little drawing. I think that was the very first one I did on my drawing tablet. How was that moving from just paper and stuff to moving to a tablet? It's a lot harder because when you're drawing on paper, you're looking down at it. But my tablet doesn't have a screen because I can't afford one of the ones with the screen. Those are very expensive. So it's a gray sheet.
Yes,
And you
I've
have to
seen
look
those.
at the computer screen as you're drawing. So you're trying to look at your hand, but you're also trying to look at the screen as you're making the transition. But eventually you kind of get the motion of it and you can look at the screen as you draw.
You get used to the different juxtaposition.
And this one's kind of cut off.
Has a Loki-like look with the horns from the head.
Yeah, it's Illidan from World of Warcraft again.
Lord Illidan Stormrage.
There's a lot of characters in World of Warcraft.
There's
if I'm not mistaken.
more than I can count. And
That
then,
amazes me too. How many characters? I mean, as a writer, how many characters have been created? You know, in just
Yeah.
World of Warcraft, and then you start seeing them in some of the, you know, the movies that integrate them, like Wreck-It Ralph, which took a whole bunch of characters from a whole bunch of different video games and put them together, and you're like, oh my God, there's a
many.
world within that world.
Yeah.
And they all have like these deep backstories and stuff
Mm-hmm.
too, which is cool.
And then that is a character that my friend plays in World of Warcraft, which I drew the portrait for her a long time ago. But That one's kind of old from.
Now, was that drawn on the tablet or was that drawn on paper?
No, that's on paper.
Okay.
Yep. There's the orc, which is just a generic orc. That I drew.
Generic orc. There
Yeah,
you go.
just one
As
of
if
the-
they, you know, as if they're
One of the
real.
many. Then this is Udyr from League of Legends, which is, he's like 4 different animals that he turns into, but that's just his human form.
I would
Okay.
like to have just a human form. I think that'd be nice. This is just my human form. I
Okay.
love that that one's on notebook paper. That just strikes me as like
Yeah,
so.
that was in school. I was
Yeah,
just
see,
doodling.
exactly.
Yep. Okay, so here is the challenge. Because I've been working with Uber creatives since I was probably a teenager, supporting and promoting co-class people and people underneath me in younger classes to stretch their comfort zones. So here is the challenge.
Yes.
I want you to draw from your imagination, not replicate
Yeah.
something that's on a computer game. I want you to replicate, and I want to see if you can create an opening slide for dragons and unicorns that could be put in that you could get credit for at the end of,
Opening slides created by.
yes, opening things. And if you want to include portraits of Rona and I, of course, we have to approve them.
We have to look younger than no.
No. But are you willing to take that challenge?
We would love it.
Could try it.
Cool.
Okay. Do not try. Do
There-
or
oh
do
gosh,
not do.
he's gonna Yoda on us here.
You are an artist and you have gotten comfortable in replication art.
Yep.
I know you have it within you to create original art. So there it is. Dragons and unicorns and other creative creatures. Let your brain
fun with it.
wander. Again, include, not include, a caricature of Rona and I that could be put on it. As long as we look at it and approve, and the first show that we have it on, we'll have you back on and we'll go over the process and we're going to see.
Yeah.
And I say this, and I do not mean this to be unkind. I'm not judging here. But it's easy to get lazy in your creativity.
There have been
Yeah.
times when I have. Yep. I've
What-
gone back to old scenes I've written and used them as a way to jumpstart where I am.
Yep. And so we're putting the screws on the Quinn machine.
Yeah.
And we're going to upgrade his stuff, and we're going to see what he comes out with.
Yeah, I actually took a drawing class at college, and that just finished. So a lot of that was not replication like the drawings that we saw earlier. That was all from my head. At first, I could tell that I definitely need some improvement. I still do. I need tons of improvement. But as the semester went on, I could tell each drawing the shading was better. I got rid of outlines. One thing that my teacher taught me was that real life doesn't have outlines. And normally, as you can see in like a lot of the other pictures that we had up, that the outline was all bolded and everything.
Oh, yes, I see what you mean.
And so he helped me get rid of that. I got better shading. I could define what was what a lot better. So a lot of I don't know how to word it. A lot of the images became more real.
Yeah.
Instead of like a fake cartoony thing, which everyone has their own style and everything. But I started to find my own style, and I
That's
think
significant.
I
And that's
definitely
gonna
improved
evolve.
a lot. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you said you have so much to learn, but that never stops. It should
Yeah.
never stop.
So we're wrapping the show down,
Or up.
wrapping the show up, winding it down, wrapping it up. And I just have to say to the naysayers who said that you couldn't have 7 minutes of conversation to keep the show going, they were proven wrong. Mike, what would you say to somebody who's thinking about volunteering here?
I say come on down to the studio. We'll let you know when the next show is. And if they just want to come on down, learn how to edit, learn how to run a camera, contact me, mjohnson@hudsonctv.com. Link down below. And yeah, just send me an email and we'll plan something out.
Well, and we want to thank you for joining us here on Dragons
Unicorns.
and Other Creative Creatures. Namaste.